Have you ever wondered why certain pains seem to persist in your life, even when everything around you seems fine? Those moments when your heart aches for no apparent reason, when fear or sadness insists on accompanying you, even without understanding where they come from? What you're about to discover now may surprise you. Many of these pains have deeper roots than we imagine, and some of them may be linked to experiences lived in past lives. Yes, what you feel today, that silent weight in your chest, may be a reflection of something that was recorded in your spiritual history before you were even born. Stay with me until the end, because this reflection may change the way you understand your own existence. To help understand these questions, we can turn to the messages of Emmanuel, a spirit who worked alongside Chico Xavier for decades, imparting profound teachings about life, death, and the mysteries of the soul. Emmanuel dedicated his spiritual existence to guiding us, showing us paths to self-knowledge and liberation, revealing that nothing we feel is random. His messages, psychographed by Chico Xavier, are true guides that connect us with the wisdom of the spiritual world, allowing us to see beyond the surface of human suffering. When we look at Emmanuel's accounts, we realize that many of the difficulties we face today may have their origins in past experiences, lessons still being learned, or even behavioral patterns that span several lifetimes. Imagine for a moment that feeling of insecurity that arises without warning, or the difficulty in relating to certain people, isn't just a coincidence. And if you could understand the origin of these emotions, recognize the reasons behind each suffering, perhaps it would be possible to finally free yourself from something that has been with you for a long time. It is precisely this connection between pain and past life that Emmanuel helps us understand. He reminds us through words full of sensitivity and wisdom that the soul carries memories that often manifest as emotional or spiritual challenges in the present life. Have you ever experienced situations where you seem to repeat the same mistakes or suffer for the same reasons with no logical explanation? This is no coincidence. It's as if the soul, as it passes through time and experiences, sends us subtle signals showing that there is still learning to be done. Emmanuel explains that understanding these origins is not to punish or blame us, but to open doors to evolution so that we can transform our pain into spiritual growth. Every difficulty we experience, every sadness that visits us carries a message, a lesson that, when understood, brings us closer to inner peace, and it is precisely here that we begin to understand the true dimension of what it means to suffer for something that apparently makes no sense. The pain you feel today, whether emotional, physical, or psychological, is often a reflection of what was imprinted on your essence in other existences. This may seem surprising, even difficult to accept, but when we observe Emmanuel's teachings, we realize that there is a profound logic to this process. Each suffering is an opportunity for self-knowledge, an invitation to understand yourself more fully and truly. Stay with me, because what follows will explore these messages in even deeper detail, showcasing real-life examples and practical lessons that can change how you deal with your current pain and experiences. Together, we'll discover how what you feel today may be connected to stories from past lives, and how this knowledge can be the key to transforming your existence in surprising ways. Have you ever wondered why certain fears seem to arise out of nowhere, or why certain emotional wounds insist on lingering even when life around you seems peaceful? What you're about to discover may surprise you. Many of the pains we carry don't originate solely in the present, but can have roots in past life experiences, spanning time and leaving deep scars on our souls. Stay with me until the end, because understanding this connection can transform the way you view your own challenges and emotions. According to Emmanuel, the spirit who psychographed profound messages through Chico Xavier, each soul carries within itself records of previous experiences, lessons that have not always been fully understood or resolved. These records sometimes manifest in the form of emotional trauma, repetitive behavior patterns, or difficulties that seem inexplicable. Imagine, for example, a person who feels an intense fear of rejection or abandonment without ever having been traumatically rejected in this life. or someone who constantly attracts complicated relationships, repeating patterns that seem immutable. According to Emmanuel's teachings, these situations may be echoes of previous experiences, where similar lessons were experienced and still await understanding and learning. These messages, I guess, invite us to look within ourselves with greater attention and awareness. Emmanuel affirms, through Chico Xavier, that today's suffering is the seed of yesterday's learning, and tomorrow's understanding depends on today's reflection. This phrase reveals a profound truth. Our current pains are not just obstacles, but signs that there is something in our spiritual history that needs to be recognized and worked through. Every recurring fear, every persistent sadness, carries with it a lesson that, when identified, can free us from old patterns and lead us to a more balanced and harmonious life. Have you ever experienced situations where you seem to relive the same conflicts, even in different contexts? Perhaps it's that feeling of constant frustration with certain people or circumstances, or that difficulty in forgiving someone, even when rationally you know you should. These episodes, according to Emmanuel's psychography, are not mere coincidences. They are subtle reminders of past experiences, trying to teach us something we haven't yet assimilated. Understanding this connection between pain and past lives doesn't mean seeking external blame or justifications, but rather gaining clarity about our own spiritual journey, recognizing the patterns that repeat themselves, and ultimately transforming them. The fascinating thing is realizing that these spiritual teachings, often considered abstract, have practical applications in our daily lives. By understanding that fears, traumas, and challenges can have ancient origins, we can begin to act consciously, changing habits, reaction patterns, and even the way we relate to others. Emmanuel shows us that spirituality is not just theory. It is a tool for self-knowledge and emotional liberation. Every experience, every suffering, brings with it an opportunity for growth that we can seize if we are attentive and receptive. And it is precisely this understanding that prepares us for the next stage of this reflection. By realizing that the pain we feel today may have been planted in past lives, we begin to see suffering from a completely new perspective, no longer as a punishment or coincidence, but as a clue left by the universe, inviting us to evolve, to understand, and, above all, to transform ourselves spiritually. Have you ever felt that certain pains seem to follow you, even when everything around you seems calm? Those persistent fears, the anxieties that arise without explanation, the patterns of suffering that seem to repeat themselves in your life may be more than just coincidences. What you're about to discover now may surprise you. Much of what you suffer today was already recorded in another life, and understanding these ancient roots can completely transform the way you face your challenges. Stay with me until the end, because this connection between past and present is closer to your life than you imagine. Emmanuel, the spirit who delivered profound messages through Chico Xavier, always reminds us that the soul carries with it memories and experiences that span time. These experiences shape behaviors, influence relationships, and even determine how we react to certain situations. When we look at the modern world, it's easy to feel trapped in repetitive cycles, that difficulty connecting with certain people, the fears that arise for no apparent reason, or the choices that always seem to lead to frustrating results. According to Emmanuel, these situations don't arise by chance. They are reflections of past experiences that still await understanding and learning. Imagine, for example, a person who constantly faces conflict in romantic relationships, repeating painful patterns without understanding why, or someone who feels inexplicable anxiety in certain situations even when everything seems safe. These behaviors often have roots in previous lives where similar lessons were experienced but not fully assimilated. Emmanuel teaches us that by identifying these roots and reflecting on them, we can break these patterns, overcome old fears, and transform our emotional and spiritual lives. In today's fast-paced and demanding world, many don't stop to reflect on the origins of their own feelings. However, when we allow ourselves this introspection, we realize that understanding our pain is an essential step toward achieving inner peace. Emmanuel invites us to look within, recognize old patterns, and realize that every difficulty carries an opportunity for growth. He shows us that spirituality is not just a distant theory. It is a practical tool for dealing with everyday challenges, improving relationships, and strengthening our connection with ourselves. Have you ever experienced situations where you seem to repeat the same mistakes or attract the same difficulties, even though you tried everything to change? This repetition isn't your fault. It's an invitation from your own soul to reflect and evolve. When we recognize that fears, pain, and limitations can have spiritual origins, we begin to see the world and our choices more clearly. This realization opens doors to transformation, allowing us to face our difficulties with awareness and serenity, rather than simply reacting to suffering. And it is precisely here that the connection between spiritual teachings and everyday life becomes fascinating. By applying these reflections from Emmanuel to our daily lives, we can notice subtle yet profound changes. Relationships become lighter. Choices become more conscious, and that feeling of repetition and stagnation begins to dissolve. Each challenge ceases to be merely an obstacle and becomes an opportunity for personal and spiritual evolution. You will be surprised to discover that what you suffer so much today was already recorded in another life, and there is a way to transform it now. This is just the gateway to understanding how our pain connects with our spiritual history, how we can use this understanding to live more fully and consciously. By reflecting on these messages, we realize that transformation is possible, that inner peace is not a distant ideal, and that each lesson brings us closer to a more balanced and harmonious life. Have you ever wondered why certain pains never seem to go away, even when you try to move on? Those feelings of sadness, anxiety, or frustration that arise without warning, that seem to recur at different points in life, may have origins far beyond what we imagine. What you're about to discover may surprise you. Many of these experiences are connected to memories from past lives, soul records that still cry out for understanding and healing. Stay with me until the end, because this reflection not only reveals the origin of suffering, but also points to paths of hope and transformation that can completely change your way of life. According to Emmanuel, the spirit who psychographed profound teachings through Chico Xavier, understanding our pain is not about blaming ourselves or feeling trapped in the past, but about liberating ourselves and evolving spiritually. Every intense emotion, every seemingly irrational fear, every challenge that insists on appearing carries a message that it is possible to look within, identify old patterns, and transform them. Emmanuel reminds us that the soul goes through experiences to learn, grow, and above all, to approach inner peace. When we understand this, we realize that suffering is not a punishment, but an opportunity for growth and self-knowledge. Imagine for a moment that those painful memories that insist on surfacing, those frustrations that seem to repeat themselves, can be seen as clues left by the soul itself. They show us that something needs to be understood, adjusted, or forgiven, and that we have the ability to do so today now, without having to carry the weight of the past. Have you ever experienced moments when everything seemed to repeat itself, as if you were living the same story over and over again? These patterns are not coincidences. They are invitations for you to awaken, reflect, and transform your own life. By applying this understanding to our daily lives, we begin to notice subtle but powerful changes. Interpersonal relationships become more relaxed. Decisions are made with greater awareness, and that feeling of repetition begins to fade. Emmanuel teaches us that true freedom lies in recognizing that we have the power to transform our experiences, even while carrying memories from other lives. Every difficulty, every pain can become a turning point, an opportunity to evolve and achieve emotional and spiritual balance. You have the ability to transform your life today, even if you carry traces of past lives. This transformation doesn't depend on external miracles, but on your decision to look within. Yes. Reflect on your patterns and choose to act differently. When we allow these spiritual teachings to guide our choices, we realize that it is possible to walk toward inner peace, harmony with others, and a more fulfilling life. Hope lies not in ignoring our pain, but in understanding it, embracing it, and using it as an impulse for evolution. And it's precisely at this point that we begin to realize something fascinating. The pain we feel today doesn't have to define our history. Every painful experience, every fear or frustration can be transformed into learning, strength, and growth. By recognizing that the origin of difficulties may lie in past experiences, we open space for a more conscious and balanced life. Stay with me, because next we'll explore how to apply Emmanuel's teachings in a practical way, showing that spiritual and emotional evolution is within everyone's reach, and that true peace can be achieved even amidst the oldest and most persistent challenges. And as we reflect on all of this, it's important to remember that you're not alone on this journey. Many of us carry pain, fears, and patterns that seem to repeat themselves, but when we share our experiences, we can connect more deeply with those who are also seeking understanding and evolution. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below with what touched you most. What insight brought a new perspective to your life, or even a personal experience that you feel relates to these messages? Your participation is much more than just a comment. It creates a space for empathy, exchange, and collective learning, allowing others to feel welcomed and understood. And if you feel this message could bring clarity and inspiration to your life, like this video. Each like helps spread these reflections to more people who, like you, are searching for answers to their own pain and spiritual challenges. Liking is not just a simple gesture. It's a way to strengthen this community that connects through empathy and knowledge, allowing this type of content to continue to grow and reach those who need to hear these words most. Furthermore, subscribing to the channel is a powerful step to ensure you don't miss any of the upcoming videos, which continue exploring these spiritual teachings and show how to apply them in daily life. Each subscription isn't just a number, but a way of showing that you value this message and want to be part of a collective journey of growth, reflection, and transformation. Your presence here, your comment, your like, and your subscription, together, help create a space where we learn from each other, grow together, and inspire new lives to see their pain in a different light. And now, maintaining this connection we just created, let's move forward, delving even deeper into how these messages can transform your daily life, revealing concrete paths to transforming old pain into strength, learning, and inner peace. Have you ever wondered why certain pains seem inexplicable in your life? Those feelings of emptiness, anxiety, or even profound sadness that arise out of nowhere, even when everything around you seems to be functioning normally. What you're about to discover now can truly change the way you perceive yourself and your own story. These aren't just coincidences or fleeting events. Many of these experiences have much deeper roots, some of them linked to lives you've already lived, soul records that still carry echoes of unassimilated learning. Stay with me, because this reflection isn't just about understanding suffering, but about seeing the possibilities for transformation that lie hidden behind every pain, like a hidden truth that few dare explore. Over the decades, Emmanuel, the spirit who psychographed valuable teachings through Chico Xavier, showed us that life is a continuous journey of learning and evolution. He dedicated his spiritual existence to conveying messages that help us understand the impact of our choices, the depth of our experiences, and the complexity of the human soul. According to him, what we feel today is not merely the result of chance or fate. It is often a reflection of ancient memories that continue to influence our mindset and decisions. Every challenge, every frustration, carries with it a silent call for self-knowledge and transformation. Think for a moment about those moments when you found yourself repeating patterns, attracting similar situations, or reacting the same way in different contexts. It's almost as if there's an invisible trail that guides us, even when we believe we're taking independent paths. Emmanuel reminds us that the soul doesn't just carry conscious memories. It also records subtle experiences, which manifest as persistent feelings or emotional patterns that, at first glance, seem inexplicable. And when we recognize these signs, when we allow ourselves to look within and reflect, we open the door to a profound transformation, capable of altering our perception of ourselves and the world around us. What's fascinating is realizing how these spiritual messages connect with modern daily life. In the hustle and bustle of life, It's common to ignore sensations and emotions that seem secondary, but actually carry valuable information about our journey. Recurring fears, complicated relationships, decisions that always lead us to the same outcome, all of this can be understood from a new perspective. When we examine the inner workings of our own soul, Emmanuel teaches us that understanding the origin of our pain isn't about guilt, but about liberation. Every emotion that arises, every difficulty that presents itself, is an invitation to reflect, understand, and above all, transform. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because transformation doesn't happen simply by understanding pain. It begins when we realize that we can reframe each experience, each soul record, and use it to our advantage. Imagine that each sadness, each frustration, or each feeling of emptiness is actually an opportunity for expansion and personal growth. Imagine realizing that what you feel today was already experienced in another life, and that, by recognizing this, you can make conscious decisions to avoid repeating old patterns. This awareness changes everything. It changes your way of seeing relationships, your professional choices, the way you deal with internal and external conflicts. The hidden truth behind pain, when revealed, transforms into strength, clarity, and the ability to evolve. And these aren't just abstract concepts. Emmanuel, through Chico Xavier, offers us tangible examples of how the soul keeps records that influence our present life. These teachings help us identify repetitive situations, inexplicable fears, and emotions that have stayed with us for years, showing that all of this has a reason. When we begin to observe our own experiences in this light, we realize that every challenge carries a purpose, every obstacle an opportunity, and every pain a chance for transformation. This insight connects us not only with our inner self, but also with a broader vision of the soul's journey, allowing us to make more conscious decisions with a clear mind and an open heart. And it is at this point that reflection begins to deepen in surprising ways. By understanding that we are not alone, that our pain has a history, and that there is a spiritual logic behind it, we begin to realize that we can act on it intentionally. Every thought, every choice, every reaction becomes an opportunity for growth, a step toward a more balanced and harmonious life. The impact of this awareness goes far beyond what we feel individually. It influences our relationships, our decisions, and the way we experience the world around us. In every moment, we have the chance to transform old memories into learning, frustrations into wisdom, and pain into silent forces that propel us forward. Now, as we begin to explore these connections more deeply, I invite you to allow yourself to feel, reflect, and acknowledge your own journey. And if you'd like, share a word in the comments that represents what this reflection awakened in you. Comment, "I'm on this journey too." Have you ever noticed how certain pains seem to recur in your life, as if they were shadows silently accompanying you, even when everything around you seems to be in order? These are fears that arise without explanation, anxieties that seem persistent, relationships that repeat themselves with the same conflicts and frustrations, patterns that manifest almost automatically. What you're about to discover now can completely change the way you perceive these moments, because there's a much deeper connection between your current experiences and what your soul has experienced in other lifetimes. These subtle memories, recorded in the depths of the soul, shape our mindset, influence decisions, and often explain pain that at first glance seems unfair or senseless. Stay with me, because this journey isn't just about understanding pain. It's about revealing hidden truths that can transform the way you view your own life. According to Emmanuel, the spirit who transmitted teachings through Chico Xavier, every pain, every difficulty, and every intense emotion we feel in this life does not arise by chance. They are records of the soul, fragments of experiences that traverse time, awaiting understanding. They are like invisible behind the scenes, moments of our existence. Silent revelations that directly impact the way we react, choose, and relate. A simple example of this can be observed in relationship patterns. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to always attract the same type of partner, with similar characteristics, bringing conflicts that already seem familiar? According to Emmanuel, these patterns are no coincidence. They reflect traumas or unresolved challenges from past lives, which remain in the form of emotional records, ready to teach important lessons if understood. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding the connection between pain and past lives goes far beyond superficial reflection. Imagine that feeling of constant rejection, of insecurity that arises for no apparent reason, or that inexplicable fear that limits your most important decisions. Emmanuel explains that all of this has a spiritual origin. The soul carries the marks of previous experiences, and these marks influence our current journey. Each trauma, each difficulty, is a kind of mirror that reflects something that still needs to be assimilated, understood, and, when possible, transformed. This is where awareness becomes powerful. Recognizing that the origin of pain lies in ancient records allows us to make conscious decisions to avoid repeating patterns, to reprogram our mind and our perception of life. These reflections may seem abstract, but they become extremely practical when applied to everyday life. Recurring fears, persistent frustrations, feelings of inadequacy or sadness that arise almost automatically, all of these can be analyzed through this spiritual lens. Emmanuel teaches us that by recognizing these connections, we can work to change our mindset, create new emotional routines, and alter how we react to situations that previously seemed insurmountable. It's a transformation that begins from the inside out, changing not only our perception of what we feel, but also the choices we make, the impact we have on the world, and the quality of the relationships we cultivate. Think about decisions you've made that have somehow always led to similar results, repeating painful experiences. Emmanuel explains that this repetition isn't punishment, but a learning opportunity that spans lives. Every challenge, every intense emotion, every feeling of limitation carries with it the chance to rewrite one's own story, to act consciously, and to transform what once seemed inevitable into growth and emotional freedom. And the most interesting thing is that this transformation doesn't require complex formulas or immediate external changes. It begins with perception, reflection, and the courage to face one's own internal records, exploring their roots and understanding how they shape each decision, each reaction, each thought. By observing these patterns, we can also identify how certain experiences in our current life act as catalysts for evolution. Emmanuel reminds us that pain is not an enemy, but a silent teacher, a fear that paralyzes us, a frustration that insists on surfacing, a feeling of inadequacy or rejection. All of these are invitations to explore the depths of our own soul. Each emotion we carry is, in fact, a fragment of a larger story, a piece of a puzzle that only makes sense when we recognize that life is a journey of continuous learning, with impacts that go far beyond what we see in the present. And it is precisely in this understanding that we begin to see the power of transformation. By accepting that pain, trauma, and emotional patterns can have roots in past lives, we open ourselves to the possibility of rewriting our own narrative. Decisions that once seemed inevitable begin to be analyzed consciously. Fears become opportunities for courage. In every relationship, every challenge, every obstacle becomes fertile ground for personal evolution. It is a hidden truth that, when revealed, changes the way we interact with the world, how we perceive our choices, and how we connect with our own essence. Now, as we reflect on all this, think of a word that represents how you feel when you realize this profound connection between past and present. Write in the comments, "I'm on this journey too." Have you ever noticed how often our most intense emotions seem to arise without warning, as if coming from somewhere far away, beyond our control? That feeling of inexplicable fear, the sadness that persists in certain moments, or even the repetitive patterns in relationships can be much more than simple everyday coincidences. What you'll discover now can truly change the way you see your own life and the way you deal with each experience. You'll be surprised to realize that what you suffer so much today was already recorded in another life, and that there is a way to transform all of this now, bringing lightness, clarity, and inner peace to your journey. Emmanuel, the spirit who psychographed profound teachings through Chico Xavier, always reminded us that life is not just a sequence of random events. Every sensation we feel, every pain we carry, and every repetitive pattern we perceive in our choices and relationships has an origin that goes far beyond what we see in the present. He taught us that the soul accumulates experiences, memories, and records from previous lives, and that these records manifest in diverse ways, shaping our mindset, influencing our decisions, and leaving silent marks that directly affect how we experience the modern world. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding this connection between past and present can generate real, tangible transformation in your life. Think, for example, about how certain people seem to always attract the same types of situations, repeated conflicts in relationships, professional challenges that insist on arising in similar ways, or fears that seem to arise out of nowhere. Emmanuel explains to us that these patterns are not mere coincidences. They are reflections of ancient records, experiences that have not yet been fully understood or assimilated by the soul, but which continue to directly impact our daily lives. Recognizing this offers us a rare opportunity, the chance to break cycles, reframe emotions, and create new, conscious experiences. These reflections, when applied to modern life, demonstrate a surprising transformative power. Today's world, with its fast pace and constant demands, pushes us to make quick decisions, often without giving us time to understand our deepest emotions. However, by bringing awareness to the origin of these pains, fears, and patterns, it is possible to make decisions more aligned with our essence, improve relationships, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and, above all, find an emotional balance that seemed elusive. Emmanuel always emphasized that true evolution is not only spiritual. It manifests itself in the choices we make every day, in how we react to challenges, and in our ability to transform painful experiences into learning and growth. Imagine that feeling of inadequacy that arises in certain contexts, or that fear that paralyzes you at decisive moments, is not an obstacle, but a silent guide from the soul, showing us that there is something that needs to be understood and reinterpreted. By applying this perception to everyday life, we begin to notice subtle but profound impacts. Decisions become more conscious, relationships become more harmonious, and internal conflicts that previously seemed inevitable begin to dissolve. Every emotion, every painful memory, becomes a tool for self-knowledge, revealing hidden truths about ourselves and the journey we are on. Emmanuel's stories and reflections offer us concrete examples of how these experiences manifest in today's world. He reminds us that recurring fears, recurring frustrations, or feelings of inadequacy do not arise by chance, are opportunities for learning and evolution. A fear that seemed irrational can become a chance for courage. A frustration that seemed unfair can transform into wisdom. A conflictual relationship can reveal areas of the soul that still need understanding and care. Each of these elements, when analyzed in light of these spiritual messages, shows us that it is possible to consciously intervene, alter patterns, and generate real changes in our daily lives, reframing old experiences and transforming them into active learning. By recognizing these connections, we begin to see life from a completely new perspective. Each difficulty ceases to be just a problem and becomes an opportunity for evolution. Fears, traumas, and repetitive patterns begin to have meaning, and each decision becomes part of a process of profound transformation. Emmanuel has always emphasized that true emotional and spiritual freedom does not come from avoiding pain, but from understanding it, embracing it, and using it as a tool for growth. Our mindset shifts, the impact of our choices intensifies, and life begins to be lived with greater awareness, aligning experience and learning in a continuous journey of evolution. Now, as this realization begins to sink in, I invite you to reflect on a word that represents what this understanding has awakened in your own life. Write in the comments, "That makes sense to me." Have you ever felt, at some point, that sensation that certain pains won't go away, as if they were silent shadows that accompany every step of your life? They are inexplicable fears, anxieties that arise without warning, patterns of suffering that seem to repeat themselves endlessly. The truth is, these experiences don't arise by chance. They carry within them deep messages from the soul, ancient records of past lives that still seek understanding. And it is precisely there that true transformation begins. Because when we understand the origin of these pains, it is not to blame ourselves, but to free ourselves, to open space for growth, learning, and spiritual evolution. Stay with me, because what you are about to discover now has the power to change the way you view your own life. Emmanuel, the spirit who imparted valuable teachings through Chico Xavier, always reminds us that every pain carries a positive intention, even if invisible to our eyes at the time. Every trauma, every frustration, every persistent fear are invitations from the soul itself for deeper reflection, a careful analysis of the inner workings of our existence. Pain, when understood, ceases to be mere suffering and becomes a tool for self-knowledge, revealing hidden truths about ourselves and the journey we are on. It's as if each obstacle were a mirror, revealing areas that still require attention, care, and transformation. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding these spiritual messages goes far beyond theoretical reflection. It's a concrete opportunity for transformation in everyday life. Think about the decisions you make every day. Often we react to situations with fear, anger, or anxiety, without realizing that these reactions are actually echoes of past experiences, subtle memories that have shaped our mindset and influenced our choices in ways we can't always identify. When we allow ourselves to observe these connections, we begin to realize that we have the power to change the narrative, break old patterns, and create new paths of growth and balance. The impact of this realization is profound. Imagine being able to face an old fear and recognize that it is merely a record of past experiences, something you no longer need to carry as a limitation. Imagine transforming frustrations that seemed inevitable into opportunities for learning and growth, and realizing that every complicated relationship, every recurring challenge can be understood in a new light, revealing hidden truths and paths to overcoming that were previously invisible. Emmanuel teaches us that spiritual freedom lies not in running away from pain, but in understanding it, embracing it, and using it as a catalyst for transformation. By applying this perspective to everyday life, small changes can generate significant impacts. More conscious thinking, a different choice in the face of an emotionally charged situation, an attitude of forgiveness or acceptance toward oneself, all of these contribute to altering the flow of one's life. This is the essence of evolution, realizing that each challenge, each difficulty carries within it the opportunity to create something new, to transform old memories into active learning, to generate a clearer mindset and decisions more aligned with one's own essence. And the beauty of this transformation is that it doesn't depend on major external changes. It begins within you, with the realization that you have the ability to rewrite your own story. Every emotion understood, every pattern recognized and reframed, every fear faced with awareness contributes to a more balanced, light, and meaningful life. It's the certainty that, even carrying memories from other existences, you can act today to transform your reality, shape your choices, and find inner peace. This understanding empowers us, gives us the courage to look at ourselves honestly, and connects us to a deep sense of purpose and hope. Emmanuel always emphasized that we are not victims of circumstances. We are active participants in our own evolution. The pain we carry is not a punishment, but a tool for self-knowledge and growth. By recognizing this, we begin to see each challenge as an opportunity for transformation, each frustration as a learning experience, and each intense emotion as a bridge to a more conscious and balanced life. This realization changes not only the way we feel, but also how we relate to others, how we make decisions, and how we perceive the impact our choices have on our own journey. Now, as you reflect on all this, allow yourself to feel the power of this message and connect with the possibility of transformation it brings. Visualize how every pain, every fear, and every challenge can be redefined. and how this directly influences your journey, your mindset, and your personal growth. It's a profound, silent, and powerful process that touches the essence of your soul and reveals that hope and spiritual freedom are within everyone's reach. And to conclude this reflection, write in the comments a word that represents how you feel when you realize it's possible to transform your pain into learning and strength. Comment, "I'm on this journey too," if you've made it this far. It already shows that you're genuinely interested in understanding these messages and reflecting on your own journey. And that's the essence of what we're aiming for here, to create a space for reflection, learning, and transformation, where each insight can make a difference in your life. If this content resonated with you, please leave a comment saying, "I'm with you until the end," or "This message was for me," so we can feel the connection we built together throughout the video. And while you share your experience, don't forget to leave a like. It's a simple way to show that this conversation resonates with you and also helps keep this type of content alive, reaching more people seeking reflection, clarity, and spiritual growth. If you'd like to continue diving into this universe of learning and evolution, there's a video here that complements this topic. Click and follow along. With each video, more revelations emerge. More of the soul's inner workings are revealed. You'll be able to better understand how to apply these teachings to your life in a practical and profound way. This is the time to take advantage of this journey, step by step, and transform knowledge into real experience.